Great, thanks, Beth. So now we know a little bit more about Beth. Yes. What's your name?
I'm Teresa.
And what year are you and what are you studying?
I'm a senior and I'm studying English.
And do you have an embarrassing story that you would like us all to know?
I think I'd like us all to know a little bit. But when I was 8 years old, I was scared of literally everything. I was scared of like spiders in the dark. I'm still scared of the dark, but everything. I thought everything was out to get me. So I go into the kitchen one morning and my father is sitting there next to this very large cardboard box, you know, the kind of like mini fridges usually come in. So I'm like, oh, that's odd, there's like a box here. And my father is there, you know, sitting innocently biding his time and going, oh, you should open the box. So I'm like, oh, what could be in here? A puppy? I really love puppies. And so, but there were no air holes, so first mistake. And I open the box and my brother jumps out screaming and I promptly burst into tears and run out of the room. And henceforth I was terrified of boxes. No, that's not true. But it was very traumatizing. And that was all.
Thanks, Teresa. So those are some pretty funny personal stories. But the theme of our concert tonight, as you've heard many times, and can see behind me, is getting personal. And so something that God does with us is He wants a personal relationship with us. And that means like sharing kind of those funny moments, and it also means showing Himself to us in ways that are like really personal, and are also just like, He uses a lot of like sometimes really strange things to teach us things. So Luke, if you could tell us a little bit about a time when God was really personal with you.
Sure. So this summer I was participating in a volunteer event with my church, and I was with a group that went down to a nursing home in order to play bingo with some of the people there. And I hadn't expected to be going to this particular volunteer event, but nonetheless I was kind of roped into it. And so when I got there, we were kind of waiting for bingo to start, so we were chatting with the elderly people there. And so the one question I usually like to ask, because I'm a little bit of a history nerd, I guess, is I ask, what's your favorite decade? Like, what American history have you lived through that's really cool? And this time, I was surprised because usually people kind of like to answer that, but the people there didn't seem particularly interested. And that's when one of my friends notified me that I was actually at a nursing home for people with Alzheimer's. And so, I mean, I felt, of course, a little bit embarrassed, but I don't know, it kind of made me think, because my memory really isn't something that's very good, and I'm not trying to compare that to Alzheimer's or anything like that, but it's something that's sometimes bothered me that, like, maybe I wouldn't remember everything about, like, family vacation or things that I did when I was younger, and it feels like, oh, well, what's the point of living if you don't remember it, right? And so it was kind of bumming me out thinking about all this stuff. And so when we all returned from this event, all of our groups talked about, or all the different volunteer groups came together and we talked about our experiences. And so I was kind of thinking about that, but before anything else, this kid named Connor raises his hand. He says, I had a really interesting day down at the nursing home because I was talking to one of the ladies there, and she said I looked like her son, and she was talking to me how her son doesn't visit, and she wanted me to come back and talk to her, and he was pretty happy about that, and he was saying, I could, maybe she wouldn't remember. I plan on doing it, but we might have exactly the same conversation this time. And I was thinking about that because, I just had a feeling that God was trying to tell me something. And that's when I really thought about it, I realized, I guess we don't need to remember something for it to have happened, of course. And God just gave me this very, I think, something closer to maybe His view of time. Because here we think of time as, something that's of so much importance, don't waste time, and all that kind of stuff. to God is to an eternal being, and we are eternal beings. To an eternal being with perspective, time here doesn't mean that much. And so I don't know, it just really changed my perspective on the idea that, you know, I can serve God, and I don't need to remember a single thing because God's will be done. So I think it's, I guess, good perspective on what we're doing here and how we can continue to do His will.
Yeah, so tonight you're going to hear testimonies before the songs, and you're going to hear some more about Skit, kind of personal. And just, yeah, and I hope you enjoy, and I hope that God touches you in a really personal way tonight. So, thank you. Without further ado, we're going to move on to Shadow.